Hello, fabulous Scorpio. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2016, looking at life and love. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This year is big for you. It is big for you for a few reasons, and those reasons really come down to what your ruling planets are doing, which really is rare and extraordinary things. One is your ancient ruling planet, and what is happening this year for the first part of the year is Mars retrograde season. So Mars is your ancient ruling planet, and Mars will actually be going back and forth between your sign and the sign immediately after, the sign of Sagittarius. And what we also have happening is the continuation of a supremely harmonious conversation that is set to take place, that is going to continue to take place in the first part of the year, between your modern ruling planet Pluto and Jupiter. All this is to say that you are going to be coming into a new sense of yourself, into a new sense of empowerment, and also into a new sense of understanding of who you are, what you want to do, and how it is that you desire to create prosperity for yourself, what you believe about prosperity or not, and where it is that you know you can take action to move yourself in a more prosperous direction. And that direction might actually end up surprising you a lot. So as I said, this Mars retrograde I think is going to be incredibly important for all of us. Mars retrogrades like once every 2 years or so. And when this occurs, it tends to represent a time when we are thinking more about using our energy wisely, thinking a little bit more strategically, considering what it means to actually live from and act from an honest, whole, complete place within our own spirit and within our own heart. When we have Mars, your ruling planet, retrograding in your sign, it means that that consideration ends up being that more personal. And the desire for change, for meaningful change, for understanding what you don't have power over and understanding what you do, and totally owning what you have power over and running with it, becomes that much more imperative, becomes that much more important to you. So this move of Mars to me says that it is about you understanding who you are and how you're living and how you're growing and how you're changing. And then there's this other element to it that has to do with is who you are and how you're doing and how you're changing ultimately leading to greater prosperity or not? What do you believe about the value of what you're giving? And what do you believe is worth spending money on as well? What sometimes can happen with Mars retrograde in the sign just after yours in particular with this is either you become overly cautious around money, or you make some large purchases that maybe you realize in the bigger picture you don't really need. Or also with this is that you start to think about where it is that you can give a more genuine and honest contribution, where it is that you can share more of your light rather than just doing something or doing what you've always been doing, where it is that you can tap into something more meaningful, deeper for you, and commit to it diligently so that it creates prosperity for you more and more as time goes forward. Now, if you remember back in, there's a couple of interesting things here. Back in 2012, Saturn went into your sign. 2015, sort of really spent the summer in your sign. Other than that, was in a financial part of the sky for you. And now we have Mars essentially moving around the same area that Saturn did not too long ago, especially when I look at what was taking place in the sky in 2014, in 2015. In many ways, Mars is going to be activating some of those points that were touched on during that time. So this becomes a time when a lot of the lessons, and particularly the lessons of self-worth and ownership for your happiness, ownership for change, comes together and meets a determination to now have that lend itself to greater prosperity for you. Maybe changing the way that you make money, maybe changing what you're doing to make money. It's part of a larger lesson with Saturn now moving comfortably, will not be back in your sign for a really long time, so don't worry. But now this is going to be a reminder and an affirmation of all that you learned and the things that you committed to on a level of spirit, on a level of soul, and on a level of genuine desire to actually be a more honest version of you in the world, a changed version of you, a version that you actually have worked really hard to achieve. So we've got this conversation playing out. It's going to be supremely important for you, particularly, as I said, in the first part of the year, right towards the end of the summer. You're going to be experiencing this energy. In many ways, actually, you're going to be experiencing it right out of the gate. As soon as 2016 starts, Mars will enter your sign. In February, we'll enter shadow, still in your sign, and then we'll start doing more of the dance, right? Leaving, coming back, going straight, that kind of thing. So it's an unusually long time to be experiencing your ancient ruling planet with you, and yet you're ready for it, and yet you need it, and yet you know that this is where you are about to harness some very potent energy to create meaningful and lasting change in your life. Now, this energy is also the positive aspects of this, the benefits to this are being affirmed by the conversation taking place between Jupiter and Pluto. So Pluto is your modern ruling planet. These two planets speaking suggest that it isn't just about, you being all determined and fighting for who you are and what you want, but also there's an easy understanding that there's support around you. There are people around you who want you to do well, who want to encourage you, and that there are benefits for change. You changing, you growing, you becoming more empowered, ultimately does lead to some very positive experiences, meeting amazing people, people who will be part of your happiness for a very long time to come. All of this is working very well together to move you in a direction that ultimately will make you that much more happier, but also that much more prosperous as well. In the context of love, I do think that having Mars in your sign is key. Mars in your sign does put the focus on you, right? So it's not so much about what's happening with someone else. It becomes a more personal journey about why you want what you want, why you're drawn to who you are. And there's going to be a desire to experience life. And that means physicality, right? Experiencing life ultimately means that feeling of being awakened in a way that only love can provide, in a way that only desire can provide. That is going to be part of the calling for you, and that is going to be part of the motivation for you also. But what we do have happening in the sky otherwise is really interesting in the context of love. We have Saturn and Neptune continuing a conversation from that started late last year, late 2015, and will continue into the first part of this year. Now, this conversation has more to do with and speaks to what it is that wakes you up on a level of body, what it is that excites you, what it is that makes you feel alive, feel that energy of creation, feel that energy of attraction. And to understand that so much of love and romance is a personal journey, is so much about you. And there's also the understanding with this that ultimately other people are going to do what they do for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with you. What you want to do is make sure that you are, to the best of your ability, able to see encounters, see exchanges as honestly as possible. If you are in an established bond, This to me does suggest a time where if you have children with this person, that becomes a big focus. So much so that it's like, okay, where are we now in the context of this? Because it really will be the child or the children that are getting the focus. If you want children, that desire is going to be palatable. That's going to be a lot of the focus. If that's not even on your radar, right? You're not even thinking that way. This particular conversation can also suggest that your partner might need some financial support on your part, and might need for you to, in some way, demonstrate that you believe in them, that you support them. So this isn't necessarily about an investment. It's more like it's possible that there might be a little period of time there where you got to take care of more of the bills than you're used to. So be mindful of that is a possibility there, but it looks like you're okay. There is financial opportunity. That is without a doubt. So you've got the opportunity there. If you find yourself in a situation where your partner needs that support, then that ultimately is going to be part of evolving that relationship as well. If you are open to meeting someone new, you have to be mindful of the lesson that you alone are enough. You alone are enough. You don't need to give to this person so much. You don't need to be, lavishing gifts or, feeling like you have to show them how much you care, give so much, care so much. It's good to do that. But with this particular connection, I look at this and I feel like you might at some point meet somebody this year, in particular in the first part of the year, where it's kind of like they want the benefits of being in a relationship without the responsibility. Okay, so you can interpret that in different ways, but that seems to be part and parcel, possibly. The other thing with this particular energy is, as I said, you alone are enough. And so if you find yourself really feeling like you're constantly thinking about them, you just got to know them, and you want that greater level of intimacy, you want to show how much you care. That's something a lot of people do, but to make sure that you are staying in a measured place, to make sure that you are keeping the focus on yourself, because ultimately that is going to be how you end up feeling that much more empowered, that much more strong. Where it comes to love, there are going to be new experiences. There are going to be some interesting flirtations taking place. Also, you might sometimes find yourself all of a sudden realizing, oh, this person's flirting with me. Okay, yeah, maybe I got something, feeling that boost that moment can provide when you find yourself a little bit surprised that, okay, yes, there is some romantic energy being exchanged here, and to just enjoy it, to have fun with it, to be in the moment with it. But I would advise, just be mindful that sometimes with this energy, you might see things that might not be intended, or people might be projecting things that are not necessarily intended. So check in with yourself, be honest with yourself, and talk, especially in the first part of the year. If you talk to friends, you talk it out, you will get to the truth. So having those key conversations really can make all the difference in your understanding of the love that you have or the love that you want, and moving towards a love that truly feels genuine and that much stronger. What I love about this year for you is that in many ways the focus is on you. It is about you coming into your own. You coming into your own power, you coming into a sense of self-realization of all that you are. When you do that, you can't help but act from a more honest and a more enthusiastic place. And when action starts from that state of spirit within, it can't help but reap some very positive results.
Bu akşam seminerimizi canlı olarak mobil uygulamamız üzerinden yapıyoruz.